morning, everybody. Welcome back. Today we're going to finish the assembly on the rear axle, the final assembly, and so far I have everything for the left housing. That's how I'm going to assemble it. First, I have the left housing in the vise here. I know they make a little straddle thing that you can buy, but I figured just use what you have. But anyway, this is the left side, and so I already have my steel spacer down there. I'm gonna put the brass one on there, and I'll take a little finger of grease here. I'm gonna put it around the seal in there, get a little just so we don't rip the seal. And then also over here, this is the other steel spacer. I put a little bit of grease on it just so that it didn't fall off whenever I go to pick it up and put it inside the housing. But so now we have the axle, all the two halves together. Now it's just a matter of putting the lock washers and nuts on. I'm going to go ahead and cheat a little bit and run them down with this. Now, just want to double check, make sure that we can still move our, put our finger on the ring gear right there and turn our differential. And it has slight drag, which this does. And, you don't want it so hard that you have to really work to move it, but you don't want it too easy that, that your whole differential housing is going to bang around in there. And another good way of checking that is to grab the ends of your axle shafts to see if you can move anything side to side, and can't move it, and nope, can't move it. I'll tell you, that's about a perfect fit right there. And mind you, this is the final assembly. The sub-assembly was me yesterday figuring out all of our different shim thicknesses and sanding down the brass thrust washer to get it so that this didn't turn as tight. So there was definitely a lot of work in it before this point, but now it seems like we're sitting pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and go down and just give everything a final snug. Now, I like using power tools to make things tight, but I still like to go over them by hand just to make sure that get the final torque on it. What we're going to do is basically assemble it for final assembly now, and this is a lot shorter than what it was from the factory originally built. And so we'll take our top bushing here and insert it in the top of the tube. So usually what I do is I kind of just take the I'll take the old bushing, like the old bad bushing that we don't need anymore, and I'll put it up against there, and then I'll hammer on the old bushing so that it doesn't beat up the new one as much. So we'll go ahead and set that down inside there. And then set the flat end against the big diameter end up against the big diameter end. And then I'll take just a basic socket right here, and I don't think we need the extension. I'll go ahead and just kind of tap it down in there. Let's see what we got. That still needs a little more. I need some more. I believe it's bottomed out, but I'm gonna double check here. Let's see. Yeah, it's bottomed. Yep, that's felt like it was, hitting something pretty solid there. So now, basically, take the drive shaft pinion assembly, and we'll go ahead and give it a test fit first before I go putting any gasket on or anything like that. Set that down in there. Got a little grease on there. And then take the U-joint, which I got a new one. I believe my old one was okay, but I didn't want to take the chance, so I got a new one anyway. Figure I'll keep the other one as a spare maybe. And so we'll go ahead and slip the square end onto the square part of the shaft, and see what we come up with here. Just needs a little tap. I'll use the butt end of the hammer here. Grab a little light here. See down in there. So through this hole right here is where you'll insert the drive shaft pin that holds the universal joint to the drive shaft itself, and we're not quite lined up with it right. see if we can get a little closer. Not sure if you could see that up in there. No, even better. I'll just go ahead and show you. See, we're not quite deep enough right there, so we need to tap it down just a little bit more. Okay, so basically, now we're to the point we got the drive shaft out, the U-joint out, and this is a bushing cutter tool, and basically what you do is you just put it down in there and go ahead and shave that bushing just a little bit. Okay, so kind of fast forwarded through that part there, but as you can see, we have the U-joint hole lined up, so we can get the pin in there, and same with the other side. You can see we can, so basically we can get our pin in. Another thing to remember is down here, this is a grease point, so we're gonna have to drill a hole in that bushing so that to allow grease in there to grease that bushing right there. And yeah, so we'll go ahead and start getting on that. Okay, so I remember I was having a little bit of trouble rotating the pinion gear whenever it was assembled with the drive shaft tube. Well, what it ended up being was the shaft collar right here that comes with that kit. The head of it, of this little set screw right here, was rubbing on the inside of the tube. So basically what I did was I just took a file and I just filed the highest point of it down a little bit, and now whenever it slides in, let me put a couple of these bolts in for alignment, and now that it's aligned, spins free, no grinding or anything. So that was the problem with that, and I knew it had to be something with this tube because when this was outside by itself independently, it spun free. So, but little disaster averted right there, and we'll move on to the next step here. Give it a little tap on the this other end. Let's see. See what the other side looks like. See if we have any movement in it now. And it does not appear to have moved. So. I think I'm going to just kind of keep going at it a little bit here, because this is something that you really do not want going anywhere. Having that pointy square-headed bolt, that was just something I had laying around. I'm sure there's some official tool out there that you're supposed to use, but I just kind of used what I got. That's pretty good. So I'm going to pull this bolt out, and then I'll bring you over here and show you what it looks like. So as you can see here, see if I can get it focused in here. But you see how the pin right there kind of has that center punch mark in the middle, and basically just kind of mushrooms the head around a little bit, so that almost acts as like an old style rivet that you would see on a really old bridge. Okay, so the old linings on these parking brake bands right here were pretty worn and soaked with oil and things like that. I think there was a really bad leak on that side of the axle. So basically now what we're going to do is, we have the new linings right here. It comes with rivets and everything. So it's time to redo these, and hopefully should go pretty smooth. Thanks for the Pandora channel. Come on here. And now we have one complete new line parking brake band. And these just sit on the inside like so. I guess I could actually, if I really feel like, I can put that on now. And it sits right on there, and then there's a spring that holds them together. But one side done, got the other side to do, and yeah, that's all there is to it. I'll show you a little closer look at them. So, as you can see, it's kind of just kind of peen the ends over a little bit. You want them a little bit below the surface, and just so they don't ride up against the drum, which doesn't matter because they're made out of brass, so you don't have to worry about them. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Not too much to it. Keep it nice and tight. Clearance between the band and the lining. So see how there's no gap in there. It's kind of what you're shooting for. That's why I use the vice grips, and just light pressure is all that you need. So yeah, one side down and one more side to go. Okay, so I was talking about maybe in some earlier videos or not, but the radius arms right here, this little threaded part is supposed to go in this hole right here. Well, since I put that auxiliary transmission in, the drive shaft tube and the drive shaft are now shorter, which is going to require modification to these arms right here. So I'm gonna have to shorten those up, and basically I bolted it on to where it's gonna be. I tightened the bolts down, and this here is a bracket for my disc brakes that I'm putting on, and so I just put the bracket on. I don't think it really makes a difference, but I figured I'd put it on and get everything set up to where it's got to be. So we'll go ahead and get this all cut and get it re-welded. So we'll go ahead and do that. them so that they kind of both, oh, looks like this one got to go back a little bit. And so, go a little bit back, and looks like this one needs to go just a little bit more. And then I think if I bring this one up here back just a little bit, we'll should be sitting pretty good. Go ahead and looks like we'll bring it a little bit back. And I would say that's it right there. Okay, so I kind of skipped over a little bit. Some people stopped by, and I didn't really feel like filming while they were here. And so basically, I'll show you what I did. We have the front attached here, and we have our back, and then what I did was I overlapped them, and I kind of, after I determined that, I sandwiched the ends down a little bit, like so, and then they're basically just bolted together. And like I said earlier, you can either put them butt weld the pipes together. I like the overlap, just to kind of gives it a little bit more strength, especially since I'm putting the disc brakes on the back, and that'll put a little bit more tension on these bars. It'll try to fold the centers of them down, I think, whenever you hit the brakes real hard. So that'll kind of help strengthen it up. Plus, you got 3 bolts here, and which is a lot. There's a lot more going on there than there is up here. Anyway, we have the other side to do, but I think I'm going to call it a night working on the axle here and clean up the garage, because man, is it a mess. Basically, I'm gonna clean up a little bit. It's been a good weekend, got a lot done. Didn't get it all done, but you don't want to rush through something like this, because you can something like this you don't want to rush through, because everything has to be together just right. Something's off just a little bit, you get your rear end locked up, you'll be in a little bit of trouble right there. So anyway, we'll go ahead and start cleaning up the garage. Got everything a little bit more cleaner here. All the things in the back, there's just some spare parts and nuts and bolts. But anyway, so now we are all cleaned up here, and we got a lot done this weekend. Basically, this whole side of the axle is done. I mean, we got the radius arms shortened up. We got the parking brake lined, and now we just have to mess with the outside stuff, the hubs, and mounting the brake calipers and things like that. But maybe throughout the weekend, maybe throughout the week, I have a little bit of time in the evenings, I can maybe get the radius arm on this side over to here done, and we'll just slowly pick at it until next weekend. Then we can hit it hard again. And yeah, the car, it's awaiting the axle, so it's gonna be fun. We didn't get to start it this weekend, but we're getting there. I don't really want to start it right now because it's up on jack stands, and I don't want the engine to vibrate and knock the thing off the jack stands. That's the last thing I want. But till next time, everybody have a good one. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.